suggested January the 12th. Today, Israeli sources were reporting a compromise date of January the 9th. In Tel Aviv, Israel's defense minister has told journalists he's confident his country can withstand a preemptive strike by President Saddam's forces.
He has the ability, he has missiles that have a range to reach Israel, but I think his capability of hurting Israel significantly is very limited.
Tonight, as American servicemen celebrate Christmas as best they can, the U.S. State Department advised all non-essential embassy staff and families to leave Jordan as soon as possible. A further sign of increasing tension as the January deadline approaches.
President Gorbachev has been given the power he wanted to rule by decree, which he hopes will turn the Soviet Union round. The Soviet Parliament voted to give him direct control of the 15 republics and the country's economy. But it's still to approve his choice of vice president, Gennady Yanayev, an old-style conservative.
Mikhail Gorbachev is now, in theory at least, the most powerful ruler of his country since the Tsar was overthrown in the 1917 revolution. Parliament today completed a series of constitutional amendments which give him the right to rule by decree without any legislative checks and balances. For his part, Mr. Gorbachev named the man he wants as vice president. He's Gennady Yanayev, who, despite pledging his support for economic reform, is seen as a Communist Party conservative and further evidence of Mr. Gorbachev's move to the right. The future of Prime Minister Nikolai Ryzhkov, last seen here yesterday, is now in even greater doubt following his heart attack. He's been under intense pressure to resign. And more evidence of tension in the Baltics today. The commander of the Soviet fleet there warned that servicemen might have to use arms to defend their families against extremists. Nationalists fear that such statements are designed to justify a military crackdown. They're also afraid that despite his new powers, Mr. Gorbachev may not be able to control an army which shows signs of wanting to go its own way. Tim Hewitt, ITN, Moscow.
A gas rig support vessel is drifting out of control in heavy seas off Humberside tonight. An RAF helicopter is on its way to rescue the crew of 15. Tomorrow's weather could be the worst of the current stormy spell. Doctors hoping to save 8-day-old Christy Strachan have had to turn down the offer of a heart from Spain because it's too big. Another baby in Europe needs a transplant too, which means a new heart for Christy will probably have to come from Britain.
Surviving on a life support machine at Great Ormond Street Hospital in London, 8-day-old Christy is tonight still waiting for the chance to become the youngest ever heart transplant child. The UK Transplant Service turned down the offer of a heart from Spain because it was too big. Other offers came too early.
During December, we had about 4 offers of very small donors, and some of those might have been suitable for Christy. Obviously, Christy hadn't been born then.
Christy's first source for a new heart would be within the UK Transplant Services area, which includes Ireland. The second source would be the whole of Europe. But another baby, only 3 days old, needing a new heart of the same blood group, has been born within the Euro transplant area, covering the Benelux countries, Germany and Austria. The first donor heart from there will now go to this other baby. And for geographical reasons, so will any heart which becomes available in the French or Scandinavian transplant areas. Even if a suitable heart were to be found in Europe, the time it takes to bring it here might make it of no use to Christy. Now another child needs the same heart. Christy's survival depends almost entirely on one being found in Britain. Stuart Maister, ITN, Great Ormond Street Hospital.
Now, with news of another milestone for Desert Orchid and the narrowing of the gap in the Football League Championship, here's Giles Smith.
Desert Orchid is back in form and back in the record books. A 4th success in the King George VI chase saw Desi jumping superbly and ready to seize the initiative when Saban de Loire crumpled at the 6th from home. Then there was no stopping him.
Crowd going absolutely wild. They've got one to jump, and it's Desert Orchid. He comes to take it. And he's jumped it brilliantly. This was his race. Desert Orchid, what history being made. Roll to the floors. The king's in his counting house. Desert Orchid's blooming. He's been here before. Desert Orchid the winner. Marvellous.
Today's soccer saw Arsenal close on Liverpool when they beat Derby 3-0, and the champions were held to a draw by Queen's Park Rangers. At Highbury, Limpar laid on Arsenal's first for Alan Smith. Keeper Seaman was the surprise provider of his second and his team's third, completely fooling the Derby defence. At Loftus Road, Liverpool went ahead in the second half through Barnes. But Rangers deservedly got the equaliser through Falco thanks to a post and a bemused Robillard. That win by Arsenal leaves them 4 points behind Liverpool, but victories for Crystal Palace and the ever-improving Leeds push Spurs into 5th place. Cricket, David Gower helped England to a respectable start in the second test in Melbourne. They finished on 239 for 4, Larkin 64, Stewart 42 not out, Gower 73 not out. Reed got Atherton in the 4th over for a duck. And when Gooch was removed by his old tormentor Alderman without even playing a shot, England at 30 for 2 were in deep trouble. But Larkins, who's had such a miserable tour so far, was the unlikely hero, hauling England to respectability. And with Gower, despite an injured wrist, riding his luck, and still there at the end, England are still in with a real shout.
And that's all from us for the moment. ITM bulletins continue through the night, but from the Boxing Day team here, good night.
Good evening. Well, the weather simply refuses to leave us in peace this Christmas. Tomorrow will be a brighter day, but it will also be colder and, more importantly, just as windy as today. In fact, the north and west will find tomorrow even more windy, I'm afraid. Here's a wind flow chart for today. There's the low pressure over Scotland at the moment. The low itself will move away during the night, but the isobars will stay packed together just like this right through tomorrow, so some very strong winds. These are the sort of average wind speeds, up around 40 or 50 miles per hour in places. But on top of that, there are gusts, of course, up to perhaps 80 miles per hour up in the north and west. The gustiness will ease off a little bit in the south tomorrow, but even there, it's a very windy day. Back to tonight now in more detail. Most of the heavy rain has moved away. There are still lots of showers, mostly in the west and the northwest, I think, overnight. Some eastern parts becoming dry, but the showers in the north and west turning ever more wintry, some snow on the high ground. For tomorrow then, well, a lot of sunshine around, I think, especially in the south and the east, but quite a few showers as well, most of them in the north and the west, as you can see, and turning more and more to snow, I think, over Scotland, Northern Ireland, and the high ground in northern England as well. So some blizzard conditions in those very strong winds up on the mountains. Temperatures hardly worth a mention with all that, really. A high of around 7 or 8, that's about 46, much colder than that in the far north, as you can see. Temperatures of 3, extremely strong winds, a very rough day for the north. As the Sunset Times, here's tomorrow's windy summary. Good evening.
Here in the central region, it'll be cold and windy tonight with showers, some of the showers squally with hail. Winds gusting to severe gale force in exposed places and may cause structural damage. A mixture of sunshine and blustery showers tomorrow and still very windy. Feeling cold with temperatures only reaching 6 Celsius, 43 Fahrenheit.
Don't miss George Cole, Sunday at 8:15 on Central.
We can't afford to keep this place on. We're giving it to the nation.
Well, what about me?
Well, the nation doesn't want you, Bert.
I'm a butler, or was a butler.
Really?
Life After Life, Sunday on Central.
Oh, you've got to laugh, haven't you?
You'll find it hard not to now on Central as we spend Boxing Night at the movies.